I don't go to the movie theater often, and that's really because I feel like if a movie comes out and I want to see it, I'll just wait for it to go on like a paid channel like Netflix or something like that, or like Prime Video, I guess. I'd much rather watch it in the comfort of my own home than, at a movie theater where I have to pay for tickets, maybe food if I want food, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot easier to I guess, watch a movie in the comfort of my own home than at a theater, other than if I wanted the ambiance or if I wanted the general, like, movie theater vibe, I guess, that it brings. And I honestly feel like movie theaters are dying because every time I go to a movie theater, there's, like, nobody there. And I would imagine the reason why is because people would just rather watch the movie in their own home rather than go to a theater. But I did want to go to the theater to watch Saw 10, and that's what my girlfriend and I ended up doing last night because I felt like it'd be a lot more enjoyable in a packed theater with, Saw movies are like super gory and stuff like that. And I feel like people would be screaming the whole time, like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I just felt like the environment would be really cool for a movie like that. And it would probably be good for like a review, right? Because I could be like, oh my gosh, at this part, everybody was screaming. But that couldn't be further from the truth. There were only about 6 other people in the theater, which is so crazy. I didn't expect barely anybody to be in there, but we did watch the movie a day early, and I had no idea why. Like, I didn't even know that we watched the movie a day early until, like, we were going to the theater, and I saw, like, an ad for Saw 10, and it said it came out on the 29th. I was like, wait, it's the 28th and we're going to see it. So, yeah, apparently we watched it a day early. Apparently that's a thing, which makes no sense because, the movie's out. So they should just say, the movie's out. And like, how is that a day early if anybody can watch it, right? I mean, apparently the tickets are called advanced tickets. I didn't think anything of it, like, okay, cool, advanced tickets, whatever. I'm just watching the movie. Like, it was very cheap. It wasn't like super expensive. It wasn't like $80 million or something to like watch the movie. Like, it was very cheap, regular movie tickets. But yeah, whatever. Apparently we watched it early. We watched it last night as like 6 o'clock. And it was great, man. Like, I actually enjoyed the movie. It did kind of suck not having a packed theater. I really wish we had a packed theater, but I really enjoyed the movie. I think it was pretty good. I've actually only watched one Saw movie other than this one in its entirety before, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's a fairly new one. It came out a couple of years ago, and I thought it was pretty good too. Without giving spoilers, the general gist of this movie is some people do some really bad things, and I don't know if you could call him a protagonist or antagonist, but the guy who plays Jigsaw essentially puts these people through like these retribution things where it's like, wow, you did something really bad. Either do this little game of mine or else you're going to die. That's basically how it goes. And god dang, dude, some points when I was watching this movie, I mean, I was like, Jesus Christ, should people be allowed to watch this? Because you watch some parts of this movie and you're like, man, this is low-key how, like, serial killers are made, watching stuff like this. Like, it is really graphic. It is very gory, very bloody. Like, there were so many moments throughout this movie where I was just like, oh my god. Like, I was making this, like, crazy face, like, no way this is happening right now. So I'll tell you a little bit of what happened, and just know the graphic effects in this were so good. It just looked so real. It was so great how they did it. Obviously, I feel like you would pass out from pain from some of these. I don't think you would live to cut your own limb off and then walk around like, okay, this is fine. But that's a little unrealistic. I think you would pass out from the pain. But anyway, regardless, one of the things that happened in this movie is this lady had to basically get this barbed wire, and she had to cut her own leg off with the barbed wire. So she had to like kind of move it in a motion where she had the barbed wire under her leg, and she had to pull it, left, right, left, right, left, right, while pulling it upward to cut her whole leg off. And that was a very crazy scene because she's sitting there for like, it feels like the longest time just pulling on this barbed wire up and down and up and down and up and down and like kind of cutting her leg off, and it was just disgusting. And basically the reason that she had to do that is if she didn't do it, there was another piece of barbed wire that was gonna cut through her throat and cut her head off. And it was just crazy the amount of shit that happened in this movie. The ending was pretty good too. It was kind of like a plot twist kind of ending. It was pretty sick. I really enjoyed it. I did think there was a bit in the ending where the dialogue was just getting really long, and it's like, okay, I get it. All right. But never, I don't think any point in this movie was I like, oh my God, like, can this just end? You know, the only horror movie I can think of that I've seen that I just wanted it to end so bad because the scene was just ridiculously long is It Part 2. And I'm just going to spoil it right now, so skip ahead like 10 seconds if you don't want to hear this. But it's the scene where they kill Pennywise, basically. And it's that final fight. I thought that scene dragged out for way too long. But yeah, anyway, other than that, you know, I never thought in any point in this movie that, you know, it just dragged out for too long. The movie's an hour and 58 minutes. It does feel like an hour and 58 minutes, I'm not going to lie. It does feel like that. It doesn't feel shorter, and it doesn't feel longer, which is a good thing. But this movie is a really interesting moral thing where it's like, okay, everyone in this situation is bad, right? The people who did this horrible thing, which, like I said, I'm not going to go into. The people who did this horrible thing are bad people because they did a horrible thing. But the guy is also, like, making them cut their legs off and arms off. Does everybody deserve that, right? And there's another character in this movie named Amanda, and she goes by the Pig. If you've seen other Saw movies, you know who she is. And she also has this sort of thing in the movie where she's like, I don't know if everybody deserves this, going through these trials, going through these games, basically. And there's one person who definitely deserves it, but the other people, some of the other people, it's like, do they really deserve it, you know? And it's an interesting moral thing because it's like everybody in the situation is kind of bad. But who is worse? The guy who's making them go through these things and basically making them cut their limbs off and doing crazy stuff. There was another part in this movie where this guy had to cut his own head open. And like this is like super graphic stuff, man. He had to cut his own head open and get a little pliers and like pick out a part of his brain to put inside of this liquid, and the liquid would dissolve that part of the brain, and then it would basically open this glass window that had a key in it, and then he could get the key, and then he could get this thing off of his head, because basically what was going to happen if he didn't do that in time is this contraption was going to heat up really hot and basically burn his face off. Like, it is a very graphic movie, man, but I do think it's interesting to watch, because I've never seen a movie like that really, with that good graphic effects and how real it looked. Like, it's not a horror movie though. I wouldn't really call that a horror movie because you're never scared. It's just like a shock movie. Like, oh my God, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I can't remember the last time I've actually seen a scary movie, which sucks. I really want to watch one really bad. There's just a lot of good like shock movies. There's a lot of good like tense movies, I guess, but I wouldn't really call them horror. Like, I think Don't Breathe is a good movie, but not because it's scary, because it's not. It's just like an interesting movie. I think, what's the movie called? I don't know what it's called. Something Cloverfield Lane. I think that's a good one too, but not because it's scary, just because it has an interesting story, right? And I think Saw is not on that level. I think those movies are better than Saw 10, but I do think that it's not really a horror movie. You're not going to get scared while watching this movie. You're just going to be shocked. And if you're very squeamish, you're not going to want to look at the screen. I think that's how it is. But overall, it was good. Am I going to watch it again? Probably not. Am I upset that I spent money to go to the theater and watch it? Not at all. I thought it was a pretty cool experience. So overall, I'd probably give this movie like a 7 out of 10. I thought the story was pretty good, you know. I mean, clearly they wanted something to happen, you know, to get people in a situation so they could make another Saw movie. And it didn't seem like the best planning because, yeah, the thing that the people did to get put in that situation where they had to play the games, it was such a elaborate plot that you know, it was just kind of unrealistic and like kind of silly. And from the beginning, it was very, you know, from the beginning, I guess, it was very kind of obvious to tell that something isn't right. But the guy who plays Jigsaw, I almost want to call him the protagonist, but he's not really. The guy who plays Jigsaw, he's very old. He's like freaking 90 years old, he looks like. So he probably doesn't understand that. But, you know, for the viewer, it's like, this is very obviously something, you know, isn't right here. But yeah, the story was all right. I thought the games were pretty cool too. I thought the game at the end was really neat as well. There's just so many bad characters in this show. in this movie that it's just crazy. But yeah, I could totally see, if you're a guy or a girl and you have a bunch of friends and you want to go watch a pretty fucked up movie, then yeah, this is definitely the one to watch. That would probably be a really good time, just watching this completely fucked up movie in the theater with your friends. I feel like that'd be really fun. So if that's something you want to do, I definitely recommend watching this. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Saw X, 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching.